Somebody to thank our guest here, Tamara Rossi Molina. She's with Choice Home Warranty. And home warranties, when you purchase a property, a lot of times we'll write in the offer the sellers to cover a home warranty. And a home warranty plan can give you some peace of mind in case the water heater goes out, you have some electrical issues, there may be some plumbing leaks, right? Different things that come up. And Tamara, I've known her for over 20 years, and she's been my go-to. She's phenomenal. She's somebody who I trust, who lives in the community here that I can reach out to. So she's the best of the best. If you have any questions about what it is, she's going to do a little 5-10 minute introduction on it and answer any questions for you. And then we're going to kickstart this home buyer class. So welcome everybody. Thank you all for coming. I didn't mean to steal Emilia's thunder here. Just wanted to make sure that we get things going. And then Tamara, if you don't mind sharing your words.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for allowing me to be here and look at all of you. This is great. It's a wonderful time to be buying a house. And I'm happy to help with it because sometimes there are concerns, when you're buying a house because you have a heating system, you got air conditioning, plumbing, you've got all these systems that could cost some money if they break. And you go and you do the walkthrough and you have your inspection done, all of those things, and everything looks good, but things happen. And so this helps with the costs. So what a home warranty is, I'll go into a little more detail. Plumbing, it's the working systems inside the main foundation of the house. So we're talking plumbing, leaks or breaks in pipes, slab leaks, water heater issues, faucet issues, toilet, things like that. Then we've got electrical systems, switches, plugs, breakers, the panel itself, heating and air conditioning. You have to replace a heater or an air conditioner, and that's get expensive. We'll cover pool equipment if there is a pool and appliances. And we have all of those appliances, washer, dryer, refrigerator, dishwasher, microwave. All of those things are covered, plus ceiling fans, garage door openers, and odds and ends. So basically, inside the main foundation of the house, you just think of the working system. So why do you want one? Of course, if you're putting your last set down in the down payment, and you don't want to lose a major system, because then it's like, well, what do I do now? The seller would love to have you have a home warranty also, because they don't want you 2 days after the close of escrow calling and saying, well, how come you didn't tell me the dishwasher didn't work? Well, the dishwasher worked when they left, but stuff happens. It's like a car knows a driver, the house knows the owner. So most of our claims come in the first couple of weeks to a month after the close of escrow. You didn't buy a lemon, but the house knows the owner. So you have an elderly couple moving out, you have a family of 5 moving in. That water load is different. So all of a sudden you got a lot of water going through the pipes. That dishwasher is running twice as much, if not once again, after not being used for a couple of years. And so things happen and things break. So that's why you have a warranty. And as Brandon said, in the RPA, usually the seller is really happy to actually pay for a warranty. And it does give you some peace of mind. So how it works is you place a claim, you call me, we have an 800 number. You can go on a portal online and place it online. We have a group of contractors that we text the claim to a bunch of contractors. The first one to pick it up will actually make an appointment with you. They go out usually for a $75 service fee or a deductible. They will fix or replace whatever it is. So we don't look at the age of the unit. So if your dishwasher is 8 years old, we're not going to depreciate it. Like you'll get a brand new dishwasher if we can't find parts. If we can repair it, we'll try and repair it all day long. If we can't, then we'll replace it. We don't replace brand new. So in case you're moving into a house that has all Viking appliances and that's lovely, for the amount of money that we charge for this warranty, which is fairly low, we're not going to replace brand, but we'll replace function. So if you've got a 5 cycle, 6, whatever it is, we will get you more of a high-end type of. Does that make sense? And again, usually just a service fee. Sometimes there are some non-covered costs on the air conditioning, total replacement. There may be some non-covered costs. Efficiency standards change. There's a ducts test that has to be done. But most of the time, it's just that $75 service fee. So, does anybody have any questions? No, yes.
I'm a homeowner.
Yes.
So Brendan Power.
Okay.
My question is based on the issues I have found.
Yes.
Does this home warranty cover sewer or roof?
Very good. We do cover roof, but I can't stand roof coverage with anybody in the industry. Is terrible. So it's $100 option and it's $1,000 worth of coverage. Well, what can you really get done for $1,000? So, yeah, and there are exclusions about the leak being around roof mounted installations. And so, yeah, if you have skylights, if you have, solar panels, if the leak comes from there, then they don't cover it. So not a big fan of roof coverage. Sewer, we do cover to clean out a stoppage from a ground level clean out. So it's clean out, it's right outside the main foundation of the house. If we run into roots, chances are we will not be doing anything. And a lot of times that's why you get, if you got a big tree in the front yard, you got to watch those roots in line, because at that point the roots have grown in and broken the pipe.
But the one doesn't cover it, totally replace it.
Right, you're right, yes. Yes, any other experiences you've had with home warranty? Because home warranty, if you've had one in the past, they're not the greatest. I mean, they're, and I've been doing this for 35 years, so I know the gig. And I think that's where the value comes, when you have a rep or somebody who will get involved. And who will say, okay, that's not right. Yeah, this shouldn't be denied, or this is a gray area. And this little thing, they can't cover everything that's covered and not covered. So there's a lot of gray area. So I have these just right around the corner. So, so pick one up, but you can't list everything. So there's gray areas. So that's why you need a strong rep and somebody who's been around for a while. Because I will place claims at 110 degrees outside, and we're nationwide. There's going to be some slowness on that 800 line. So that's why you call me. And by the way, you will probably see commercials now for us. We are nationwide. We just added California a year ago, January. And so I'm happy to be with them. We do things a little bit differently, and I'm happy with what I see. So.
And
Yes.
is it different coverage for different size of homes or for condos?
Great question. Yes, so a home under 5,000 square feet, we've got pretty standard pricing. Once you go over 5,000 square feet, then the prices go up. Condos are less. They're about, $40 less. Yes. Yes.
What is the price?
Basic plan, which I would recommend adding to, but the basic plan, which is everything I talked about, except for pool, 400 actually. No, a year. 400 a year, but again, I wouldn't recommend that. Chances are you're gonna have everything. We always want to add something we call the upgrade, so no matter who you go with, always get an upgraded plan. Always, because it covers enough odds and ends, but it's well worth your while, and then you're talking, what, $4, $5, $550, $600, and if you add all the bells and whistles, it goes to $700. So, and that's for the year.
Is it any precondition if I buy foreclosures and nothing about it, or are you looking for any inspectors to report before you enroll?
Great question. Thank you. I don't know about Brandon, but for a home warranty company, we love having a home inspected before the close of escrow, because it helps me overturn a denial. So you move in, you call the gas company to turn on the pilot for the heater, and they discover the heat exchanger is cracked, which is carbon monoxide, and that's killing you. So it's an automatic replacement. Well, the company looks at it and they say, well, this was a pre-existing condition. Well, guess what? If I have your home inspection and the home inspector said, hey, listen, this thing is 25, 30 years old, but it is functioning. And by the way, that stuff is made much better than the junk they make today. So I can take a look at that home inspection. The thing was working, was functioning, everything was fine. We overturned the denial. So I love having a home inspection, but we don't require. And if you're buying something you don't know anything about, then, you probably won't want inspection. Just so you know going in, it may not deter you from buying the property, but you as a buyer, speaking out of my line, but, you as a buyer should know, what you're getting. So, and it helps us as a warranty. And if the home inspection doesn't help us, we don't use it, we don't require it, but it's really easy for me to overturn a denial if the home inspector. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, and you too. So thank you. Any other questions? Those are great questions. Thank you.
I'm a homeowner, that's my.
Yes.
I got a disclosure.
Yes,
So I didn't know anything. Base things on the road.
yes, yes. Yeah, and the home does. And please, if the listing is vacant, I know your agent will take care of that during the listing period, run the water, flush the toilets, run the garbage disposal, because what happens is the pipes dry up, the seals dry up, and there's, some plumbing issues after the close of escrow, but you guys all do that, so it's great, yes.
I know I've been a little late, but I have a question.
Yes.
Now, we've had some unforeseen natural disasters in this area, with several
Yes.
years, like the fires, or we haven't had an earthquake in a while.
Yes,
Now, would that be something covered?
that would be more homeowners insurance, so there's a difference between homeowners insurance and home warranty. So a real simple example is a water heater.
So the water heater explodes, you know, God forbid it's in a house, but ruins the hardwood floors, the drywall. We would cover the water heater, homeowners insurance would come in and cover the secondary damage.
Okay.
So that would be more homeowners insurance. And there's a place for both of us, you know, really, because homeowners insurance covers the secondary damage, but then you're stuck with a water heater that's not working. So it exploded. Yes,
When you replace the things,
yes,
you tell your trusted vendors? Or
yes.
is it something I can choose and then you operate?
We have our vendors, that way we control our cost a little bit, so we can sell it for our $400 for the basic plan for a year. So we do have our vendors. I, being in the industry for so long, you get a feeling for who you like and who you don't. And so because we carry so many vendors, we can get rid of them if we don't like them. If there comes a time where we can't perform, then absolutely, and we'll do some sort of a reimbursement. So we are, you know, very happy to do that. So we want you to have a good experience, and we want to get things done, and that's the goal, is just get things done, get things covered. You know, and
If I would like to add AC instead of the heating, would you recommend? To those people who bought this insurance, okay, do it out and trust it or.
oh, so if it was just outside warranty, and would I recommend one of those guys?
Oh, I don't have it. But
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah,
you support
yes, we do that.
with recommendation.
Yes, yes, we do that. Absolutely. Yes, anything else? Well, thank you. I appreciate all of your time. I appreciate, you know,
That was great, and I did want to also add just a couple points to what you were sharing here. So one of the things, so a lot of times for the buyers, when you're writing your offer, and we're going to talk about different things to do when you're writing your offers, but one is, in this market right now, you could probably get away with asking for about $650 to $700, which is the premium home warranty. So that's just something to keep in mind. Don't feel like you have to write in the basic plan. You can write up to that $650, $700. I do it pretty often, rarely get it countered. It's more challenging to get your offer accepted, and we're going to talk about some of that, but I wanted to be very clear about that, because that's a huge benefit that she mentioned. And what's the deductible?
75.
So $75. So if somebody has to come out to the house, you as a homeowner will pay $75. But if they can't fix it, then they'll replace it. I've had a dishwasher, you've replaced the dishwasher for us when I had a property that I was renting out at a period of time. And we kept that home warranty, so you can extend it. You get it typically, is it a year or
It's 13 months.
13 months after you purchase the property? But after that, you can renew it. And what is a ballpark to renew it for another year if you did the
If-
basic with some small update?
If you come through me, we can get kind of a modified plan. It's like $50 or $60 more. So it's not bad. And they can do a monthly plan in which they don't charge an admin fee. So you just take the premium and divide by 12, which is great. So I like that too. So yeah, there's always a way to renew it.
It's a nice thing if you don't have a list of contractors, you don't have an electrician, plumber, all these different services. She's a great contact for that. So it's just peace of mind there, but it's another layer of protection. But thank you so much for
Love it.
coming in.
Thank
tonight.
you.
It's great.
Thank you. Wow. Yeah,
Awesome.
enjoyed it.
All right. Yeah, we'll see you soon, Ken. Good luck. Thank you for bringing your food and drinks. So those that just showed up, we do have some breakfast in there too. There's bagels, donuts. Tamara brought that for us. So thanks for doing that. And want to introduce our lovely host, Emilia.
Hello.
And Emilia is phenomenal. She's a team lead in this office. She's a great leader for this organization and a great representation for buyers and clients out there. So
Thank you
Please.
so much.
kick us off.
Thank you, thank you. So welcome, guys, and congratulations. This is a huge step. Whether you're a first-time buyer, or let's face it, you're a first-time buyer in this market. Because how many of you think this is a different market than it was last year? Raise your hand, let's see. You think it's a different market? How many of you think it's a different market than it was 6 months ago? Raise your hand. Okay, what about last month? Do you think it's a different market? It's a total different market. And actually this morning when I woke up, I went, oh man, it's a different market today. So that is why you're here, and you've been brought here either by myself or my team or one of my amazing colleagues to do it. And it's not that I'm gonna go like this and click my heels together and say there's no place like home and get you there. But with the strategic tools that we're gonna introduce to you today, we have a better probability, I'm gonna say it, than anybody in this county in getting you into the home of your choice. And the home that is right for you and your family. And you might say, Emilia, well, how are we gonna do that? I'm gonna give you 3 C's today. My first C is this. we're gonna get curious about you. And what does that mean? We're gonna wanna know how much money you're putting down, where that money is coming from. And when we are getting curious, you're gonna start getting curious about your own buying process. Where are we getting the down payment from? How to get a down payment, how to get gift funds. There's so many different ways in this market to get that daunting down payment. And that's so many concerns, that's such a big concern for so many first-time home buyers. But my number one rule of thumb is transparency is key when you're in this market and purchasing either for the first time or purchasing an investment property. And what does that mean? That means if you co-signed for a car, you need to let your lender know, because that will come out. Or if you have made a very large purchase, let your agent know, so we can figure out the ways to either work around it or extend your timeline to purchasing a property. Also, we're gonna be very curious of how many bedrooms is perfect for you? How many bathrooms is perfect for you? And do you notice how I don't say that you want? How I say is perfect for you? Because sometimes in this market, and as being a first-time home buyer, a lot of you are first-time home buyers. Any first-time home buyers in the house? Okay, very good, very good. So sometimes we're getting the 2-bedroom, 1 bath, the 3-bedroom, 2 bath. We're not getting the 5-bedroom, 4 bath, beautiful property that we're looking through Zillow and, Bluefin. No, I'm just kidding. But sometimes we like to put ourselves to sleep by looking at all these great properties. But that is a part of our curiosity. We're starting to realize what is realistic for you and your family. How is this real estate going to enhance your livelihood, not chain you to a home? A lot of my first-time buyers are married couples and or have family or commitment to other people around them. And I ask them this question. You can afford the $1 million house. You can afford the $700,000 house. But the true part of home ownership is not to be married to the house, but it's to be married to your lifestyle and allow that home to enhance that. And that's part of our curiosity. We're also, I'm gonna have to see, because I kind of go, I lost my seats, I had my board up. We're also gonna get connected with you. And the connection is each of us as agents work with a team of representatives from lenders, Tamara Rossi, homeowners, home warranty, that help in this process. We are very lucky here at 1721 Everest. We have a great escrow company that helps you through the escrow process. They're amazing. I know it's a phone call away while you're in escrow. Escrow could be a very scary thing. I remember before I became an agent, somebody told me, said, do you even know what an escrow is? And I said, absolutely not. I know Brandon's going to kind of take you through more of the logistics of that, so I won't go too deep, but each and every person here is connected with the right resources to get you through to the finish line. And that's what we pride ourselves in. Is I know that a few of you I've talked to and brought you to this class, and I've said, I want you to be here because today is the first step. It's a monumental step. Whether you purchase 10 houses, 2 houses, or you've never purchased a house before. Today, remember this day. Because the real true value of real estate, I believe, is lifestyle. How that real estate will give you the lifestyle that you want for you and your family. And the benefits are unending. They're just so immense. Lately, we've been talking about buying the right property in this market so that when you're in that property, eventually that property will start paying you. instead of you paying it, and it works for your lifestyle, instead of everything that you've done to work for that property. And that's what we are here. And my last C is the commitment we have to each and every one of you to make sure that you are safe in this home buying process. Because the last thing I want you to do is get into a property that is over your head and that you can't stay committed to your family, to your friends, and to the responsibilities of your livelihood. So congratulations. Can everybody look to the person to the right of them or to the left of them and say congratulations on this big step? Okay, and without further ado, the nuts and bolts of all of these transactions are going to be explained to you. But I have a very, very special guest here. I don't know the number, but I'm gonna put you on the spot. Frank, how much in home loans did you fund last year? Wasn't it like in the billions?
Well, we helped over 300 families.
300 families. How many of you want to be one of those families? Right? 300 families last year. So without further ado,
Yeah, thank
Frank
you.
Salazar, from the owner of Gen Mortgage.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I pass these out? I'm gonna help everybody help me.
I can help you pass this out. Oh, there you go.
Here, one spittle.
Yeah.
This is important.
Okay, which one first?
Just for everybody get one of them. Good morning, guys. Good morning, Frank Salazar. You know, usually I'll speak in front of like a little nervous here, just like. Kind of weird. So I think that in this market, I believe that in this market, everybody wants to know. It's okay, it's good. We had a PowerPoint, but you know what? Let's talk, let's chat. Normally the lender comes up here, right, and talk about interest rates and where you get your down payment and all this other stuff on how to achieve home ownership. I think I want to twist it a little bit this time. That's why I brought this information. We are definitely in a market where the question is not what's my rate, but I think your question to yourself should be, what is my 5-year plan? That's why the professionals are here today. The realtors that showed up today, the real professionals showed up today, they actually have a higher understanding about what their plan is 5 years from now and wanting to find out what your 5-year plan is 5 years from now. I think that the questions have changed. We're in a market of mindset. I'm always saying that indecision is a decision. Indecision is a decision. You've decided to stay exactly where you are. By raise of hands, who here owns a home already? I know you. Who else owns a home? That's it. Who's here getting their first home? Never had a home before. Abraham. Matt, Kurt, you own a home? No? Okay.
Thank you.
Indecision is a decision. You've decided to stay right where you are. And one of the things that I'm going to echo everyone that's here is that we are quick to get information from our friends and families. Do we agree on that? Right? I always say that when you're buying a home, it's like getting married. It really is. Because you tell someone, hey, listen, we're getting married. Everyone has a venue for you. The venue, the band, the food, the church, wherever you're getting married. Everyone has advice, but no one is going to pay for the wedding. You are. Right? And here's the crazy thing. The ones that are giving you the advice about the wedding are probably divorced or never been married, but they're experts. Same thing happens when you're buying a home. You tell someone, hey guys, we're thinking of buying a home. And right away, hey, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. Have you consulted with the real estate professional? Probably not. Are you consulting with your cousin that's never bought a home and they're giving you advice? Or maybe someone else is giving you advice. So we're not making fun of the people that never bought a home that give you advice, but we are. Here we are, quick to accept that information and be even quicker to disqualify ourselves. We are so quick to disqualify ourselves to something that seems so far away. In reality, it's right here in front of you. You just need the right information and the tools and the commitment, which is part of the 3 C's. The whole point of getting together with a mortgage professional or a real estate professional, so you can do what I call You're listen, ask, confirm, and educate someone, right? We call that fact finding session. We need to know everything about you so we can plan your strategy. There's a million ways to buy a property, but there's only 2 ways that apply to you, maybe even 3 ways. Yet we're getting all this information, getting confused about everything, and not making the decision that works best for you. You guys, as first-time buyers, I want to tell you something. The market has changed. I'm sure you've noticed that by now. Okay, why did I give that information to you? Because those interest rates are actually opportunity. I know, I might be the first lender that says that. Those interest rates might be opportunity. What do you think would happen if the rates were still 2.9%? The home that you're looking to buy would probably be how much more expensive, Brandon, Emilia?
For an extra, what percentage?
If the rates were still 2.9%, what was the price be? How much more?
Oh my gosh, in 100 to 150,000.
Yeah, over asking price, so
Yeah.
the demand goes up with the rates down.
The rates went from 2.9% to 6.5%. The average customer's payment went up $1,400 a month. $1,400 a month represents about $200,000 per price. So every home that you guys are looking at now that you think might be expensive, if the rates were still that low, they will be that much higher. So this is not about what is my interest rate moving forward. And again, my conversation today is about, it's not so much about here's how you qualify. How do you qualify? Well, you apply, we sit down and we have a conversation about what's important to you. That's really the answer. Whether you use us or not, or any lender that you're dealing with, it's a sit down. And the question is not what's today's rate, is what's your 5-year plan? I'm gonna get right back to that. So you guys saw the interest rates. And the other page that I gave you, did you guys see what the average rent is in Ventura County?
Yeah.
Did you see it? What is it? $2,700 average. Let's do some math together and let's just wow each other for a second. The people that are renting, you don't tell me what your rent is, but the people that are currently renting, whether you're renting by yourself, with your parents, brothers, sisters together, the folks that bought that property that you're renting, they probably paid about $400,000 to $500,000 for that unit 5 years ago. Whether it's an apartment complex, a condo, a home, whatever they bought 5 years ago, they bought it for $400,000 or $500,000. You are renting it today for about $2,700 or Ventura County as a whole. If you divide $2,700 into a $500,000 home, that is an average cap rate. That's language that landlords use of 6.5%. You see, a lot of us, we're complaining that the rates are 6.5%, and we should wait till they go down, right? But we're already paying 6.5% to our landlord. You see, so either you pay your home or you're going to pay someone else's home, but you are already paying that rate. Again, the question is, what is your 5-year plan? Not what is today's interest rate. Okay, so with that, what follows with that is this: the rules have changed. I don't know if you guys, it's all over the news, right? Why are they charging people with great credit more than people that don't have great credit? Right? It's all over the. I saw it on Instagram. Everyone's posting. They're charging people with great FICO scores a whole lot more to buy a home than the ones that have lower FICO scores. What has happened is this: a great FICO score that's all it is. A great FICO score. In today's market, lenders like myself, a direct lender, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, we are looking for probability of payment. And all that does for you is bring opportunity. We're looking for probability of payment. Where's your income? Can you prove your income? Do you have some down payment? Not one get it for you. Mr. and Mrs. Perfect don't cut it anymore if your income is not there. So what I'm trying to say is, do not be quick to disqualify yourself. Your conversation, your needs are unique to you. So we will have a unique answer for you for the list of professionals that are here. So, and speaking along the lines of opportunity, because I could be here for a while, you challenge me to be up here for 15 minutes.
Not at all.
Good.
Keep going, man. You're good. And if you're okay with it, Frank, do you have to go somewhere right after?
No.
You're good? Because what I would like to do is bring you in as, because we're gonna get into a lot.
Yeah.
So be ready.
So,
We're gonna jump into it.
so remember, guys, if you guys are thinking, well, I don't know, we're working on our credit, what are you working on? Well, you know, our credit score is low. What is low? Well, someone ran our credit and they said, ooh. You guys start asking all the right questions, right? Don't be so quick to disqualify yourself buying a home. We all have that coworker I'm gonna make you guys laugh here. We all have that coworker that's been at the job, same amount of time that you've been in your job. You probably know they get paid the same that you get paid. But they own 3 homes and you don't. And you're like, how in the world did they find a 3rd home? You know what they did? They got informed. That's the answer. They got informed. So let's fast forward just here for a second. So we determined that the average rent in Ventura County is the equivalent of a 6.5% interest rate to that over the homes for 500,000. So let's get off the interest rate conversation for a second. Right? The question is not what are today's rates, but instead, what is your 5-year plan? That's really the question. We determined that you don't need to be perfect. You just have to have probability of payment. You have a 2-year job, you have decent credit, you have some down payment, no bankruptcies, no foreclosures. You're probably qualified to buy a home. How much? I don't know, but you probably will. And if we can prove your income, then the probability of payment is there. Projection versus opportunity. If the interest rates stay where they are today, which they will, let's touch on this for a second, because I believe that everyone that's here today, you showed up. You showed up. So you want to be well informed. The projection is that because of inflation, it's real. Inflation, it's here. Rates are going to remain high until we tame inflation. Rates are going to be where they are. Home prices are going to be where they are. Cyclically speaking, recessions will last. I'm not saying we're going to recession, but recessions, according to the government, will last 12 to 18 months. The sound projection, systematically and semantically. I have partners, we hedge loans, so we kind of have to find out where we're going. Is that the interest rates will be about 4.5% by the end of 2024. That they should be 4.25% by the first quarter of 2025. Well, you know what? Then why don't we just wait? And we'll buy a house then. What will happen to the prices if we wait till 2024 or 2025?
Your $700,000 house
It's going to be 900,000.
thing, yeah.
But what will happen if you buy a home today? Your payment's going to go down about $1,200 about 18 months from now. Now, Frank, you have a crystal ball. You guarantee that the rate's going to go down? No. No. But cyclically speaking, rates must go down because inflation will only last for so long. We can't keep the rates this high because they'll smash affordability. Remember. And speaking of affordability, there's plenty of money out there, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, plenty of money. CalHAPA, CalHFA, GSFA, I won't get into all of that because those are individual conversations. But there is plenty of money to buy homes. What we need is more homes for you to make a decision. So, last thing I'll tell you, and this is kind of the scary stuff. And not scary, but to bring some urgency and to make a commitment to yourself is rate versus wealth. If you can get past the rate, you will build generational wealth. As rates go down, values will go up. Half of the people are moving out of California, the other half are moving back to California. Look at the weather outside. We're not going anywhere. People still want to live here. And if you decide that you don't want to buy the home, and this is the part that maybe a lot of us don't want to tell you this way, and if you don't want to buy a home, there's a company called Blackstone, and they raise over $35 billion to buy everything they can. So what is it that they know that we don't know, that they're willing to buy properties to rent to you at 6.5%, 7%, 8.5%, right? That you shouldn't know. So we're talking about it. Let's be Blackstone. Let's be those investors. Let's think about 5 years down the road, right? And listen, ask, from educate. And I always say, the more we know about you, the easier the road will be. Thank you. You're on. I have a question for you.
We got a question for you.
Oh, sorry.
I think
15.
said that people who have great scores, and we charge more. I think we get it.
Well, let me rephrase that. People that have great credit scores are not being rewarded for having the great
Oh,
credit
that's
scores.
a reward.
Yeah. Well, I would say charge, but I didn't say another way. People that have great credit scores are not being rewarded like they were before. People with low credit scores, which is not, by the way, credit score is not bad credit. It's just a low credit score. That's all that means. So a big difference between bad credit and low credit score, so don't disqualify yourself. And people with low credit scores are no longer having to pay the points and the fees that they had to pay before. So the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are kind of opening the floodgates to allow you to achieve home ownership. Okay? That's
Thank
right.
you.
Any other questions?
All right, so thank you, Frank, again. That's some great information. I learned some really great things, always learn something. And I know you're gonna learn a lot from this gentleman that you got to be introduced to, maybe not actually formally introduced to, but this is Brandon Ramey. He is not only a, second generation realtor, he's the branch manager of this office, a tried and true leader. So he is going to give you, like I said, the nuts and bolts of what you're going to be expecting in the home buying process. So without further ado, Brandon Ramey.
Thanks, Emilia.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'd like to bring my trusty white card. I'd like to draw drums on the drawings. But it's awesome to see this great group come in here. So I know, is anybody just a little overwhelmed with the real estate market or the thought of owning a home for 30 years, paying that payment for 30 years every single month at the interest rate? Does anybody have just a little bit of feeling overwhelmed? We got one, we got two back here, a couple. What do you believe are your biggest challenges that you see in this market? Because we're going to touch on the market, and I'll give kind of a quick overview and come back to that question. But I want you to think about what challenges do you believe that you're going to have? Go ahead.
It's to, abstain the lifestyle you currently have, feeling comfortable with a price that you can't afford, that you don't have to struggle.
Okay, so
With this market.
and it seems to be that conversation in the California market. I've been doing it about 20 years now. As mentioned, my dad, who helped this fine young gentleman right here, purchase a home. How long ago was that?
I was unaware.
How long ago was that?
That was in, I believe, 2009.
2009. Okay, and you got a foreclosed property. Congratulations on that. That's not easy to do. So that's
That's why this seminar is great. All of these statistics today, I'm going to call in a point of the portfolio.
right.
Somebody on the line,
Right.
and your credit unions, it's kind of a reasonable experience.
Right.
And that credit get lost for 7 years.
Right.
So for 7 years, you are going to be a man, you're going to have the state.
Right.
And still get that.
Potentially, and it's when the market crashed in 2008, there were quite a few people who went through foreclosure, who went through short sales. There's ways to mitigate it too, instead of having it go to foreclosure. But a lot of times what happens, people just they just stop avoiding everything instead of seeking the experts. Some could have found out that they could have possibly modified their loan. And that's another thing as well that I learned through this history, that the key right now is to get into a home and start creating wealth through real estate. That's the key. And it's a jump, and it's scary, and it's gonna feel overwhelming. Yes, sir.
And Frank Brennan made a good point, I started with 5.5% when I bought that property.
Right?
I mean, for them, it's 2.5%.
So 2.5.
And looking at the rates here, 6.4, he said,
Right.
I'm glad I did it, but Frank made a point. You invest today, the wealth will increase when you refinance.
That's exactly right. The other thing people are doing, and they've lowered the mortgage, it's called mortgage insurance. So you'll hear, what's it, PMI, and it's got another name too. What's the other one? PMI and
MIP,
MIP,
mortgage insurance.
MIP.
premium, yeah.
So when you hear mortgage insurance, that happened after the market crashed. And so it's typically $200-300 depending on what your price point is, but that's the common of what I hear. And then once you have a certain amount of equity in it, when the prices go up, you can drop that mortgage insurance. So I had neighbors who got in. So I bought our first condo actually with my brothers at about 415. Market went up. That was in 2004. Market went up to about 515 in a year and a half. We're like, we're rich, right? We just made $100,000 in a year and a half. That's like, but I'm not paying capital gains. So I think I'm smart and I refi for a 10-year fixed interest on it. This is 2004, 2005, 2006. What happened in 2006, 2007? Does anybody remember?
Crash.
Market came down. Guess what that home was worth in about 2008? You remember, right? It's my beautiful sister-in-law over here. Much better real estate agent. So Just, she's fine. So we remember the prices and the values, it dropped down to 300,000. So bought it at 415, went up to the fives, now it's down to 300, right? Luckily, we were able to keep making our payments, and at some point, we were able to do what was called a loan modification. So our payment was almost at 3,000, now it dropped down to 1,500 a month. They put it on a 2% interest rate, step up to about a 4.75, and then after, I think it was year 4, it was fixed for 30 years after that. So for 30 years, now at about a 4.75 rate, which still only put us at about 2,200 a month. So the whole point of what I'm saying is, we have all these fears, all these things coming our head of, well, what if this happens? What if I lose my job? What if these things happen? Always do what's right. Keep trying to make your payments. Do everything that you can, but there's valuable resources. The bank doesn't want your property back. So they will try to work with you. It's just got to be legit. And of course, there are people that will work in the system, but if you were trying to do your best to make your payments every single month and you couldn't afford that full payment, again, I'm not trying to prepare everybody on how to work the system here. What I'm trying to say is,
Have you on video?
the government is not going to allow everybody to just lose everything. Okay, so that's really important to understand. But what's more important right now is understanding that what you're buying is for the long term. And the question's always, is now the right time to buy? That's always the big question. Well, I don't want to be the sucker who paid too much money for my home and then the market crashed, right? Which I felt that way for 3 or 4 years, but I knew enough about the cycle of the real estate market. Does anybody know what the trend typically goes? This is a very good saying. It never goes as low. Go ahead.
It goes like a stock market. Up and down, up and down.
A little bit better than the stock market though, but yes, but it can go up and down. There's certain parameters that are in place that stabilize it, so it can't just drop tomorrow. Even when the market started shifting the way it did, I had a friend who was a builder. And that builder stopped building, stopped buying land, stopped doing that. He told me that about 6 months before the market started shifting. So if you notice builders stop building, that's a sign, okay? These are things to pay attention to. Unemployment is a very important number. And people are starting to lay off. They're starting to do things. So you need to make sure that your job is stable before you do this. Again, we don't want to plan on trying to ask for help, but there is help out there, okay? So in terms of the market, right, it never goes as low as the last low, but it's always higher than the last high, okay? It does work like this. Over the long term. So in every decade, other than the Depression, other than that decade, there's been an increase in values over the 10-year period. Typically, you have about 5 to 7 years of growth and 5 to 7 years of decline. Okay, does anybody know when the bottom of the market was most recently? Any guesses? Year. What was it, 2008? That's a good time of when it crashed, right? When it was coming down pretty low, but it went low. The lowest was 2011. So the bottom of the market was 2011. Okay, so 2011, and then let's say 7 years of growth. That was pretty common. It's at 2018. We started seeing a slowdown in the market. So when you're looking at trends, and we're going to talk about a buyer's market and a seller's market, longer days on market indicates that there's slower buyer activity, which helps buyers. So if you start seeing, these are things, if you're taking notes, you want to start tracking days on market. We're going to talk about, I like to call it bucket A properties and bucket B properties. Bucket A is what everybody goes for. The price looks amazing. Does anybody see those homes that come online that the price just looks phenomenal? What typically happens with those properties? Especially if it looks well. It goes quick, but what happens? Does it go out at that price? No. Way over it, okay? That's called creating value. So we help a lot of sellers. We tell them how to create more demand and more value. So you don't want to go after the bucket A properties, what I call like the HGTV that's completely remodeled. Everything looks beautiful. Everything's amazing. And it hits in the perfect neighborhood at the perfect price. Us as agents, we know when we see these homes, you're not paying asking price. You're paying way over asking price. So there's certain strategies. If you do love that home and it's the gotta have home of how we can increase your chances. Okay, but bucket B properties are the homes that people may be passing on for some reason. So don't be discouraged if a home seems overpriced, because that could be a benefit to you, because now you have less competition. So Frank's point earlier about where the interest rates are at and everybody's focus is on rates. Well, great leaders help you focus on the right things, okay? And the right thing is your monthly payment. To keep this very simple, there's two things that you need to make sure work. Your monthly payment, number one. It's gotta be within your means so you can live the lifestyle that you're looking to live, okay? Make sure that payment works, and there's creative options that Frank has that you can find out about to help, okay? The second thing is it's gotta fit your needs, your utility, right? If your affordability is only a 1-bedroom and you have 3 kids, it's probably not gonna work out. So utility and payment have to fix that. Those are the two key things, all right? So in terms of the market, when you're ready to buy, when you take that first step, has anybody here taken the first step of speaking to a loan officer yet? And I gotta raise a hand to anybody who's spoken to a loan. Okay, so we got one, we got a couple, okay, a couple that have done that. And congrats for doing that. That's the hardest first step. That's my hope for you all. After you have a good understanding, we're trying to empower you with this information that you take that first step. You have to get a financial snapshot of where you're at today, whether you're ready or qualified to buy today. And I say this to a lot of new agents who come into the industry, get pre-qualified. Find out, I know you haven't sold anything yet. Go through the process. Understand what it takes to be able to purchase a home. And it's not about that you're ready to go now. It's about preparing and getting ready. Because right now, I'm just gonna rip the Band-Aid off. It's a very difficult time to buy right now. It's very competitive again. Emilia asked a question. What happened in the last month? The market's changed in 30 days. Okay. But November of last year, when everybody was afraid, like, no way I'm buying a home. I'm not, rates are too high. This is too scary. I'm hearing from everybody the market's gonna crash. I'm gonna get a better, I don't want to, again, hearing all the naysayers out there. Well, the people who pulled the trigger, they're in a home right now in the neighborhood they want. That was the best time to buy. January, February, it almost took till March, getting close to April. Usually by about mid-January, it takes off. So you get ready now, you figure all your things out now, you keep your eyes open on what's coming on the market because the inventory is going to start coming on. We're getting calls now from our sellers. And they're telling us, okay, we want you to list a home. I have 3 potential coming up right now. I guarantee the other agents have the same thing. They're coming up. So you have to get all your ducks in a row now. So when those homes come up, you're ready to pull the trigger. Not everybody understands the market the way we understand the market as the agents in this office either. And what I mean by that is you can still find a situation, if your agent asks the right questions, sometimes be able to apply pressure with your offer and get them to make a decision quick, instead of waiting it out before we know what the outcome of that's going to be. Okay, does that make sense? Does everybody get an idea in terms of the market? And just so you know, the average over the long term, 3% appreciation. Okay, over the long term with all the lowest downs. So even when we dropped down to 300K, the good news is it did bounce back up. But from 2004, it took 16 years to get back up to that value. So you have to buy this for the long term. You buy this home thinking you may be selling in 2 years from now, you may need to be careful with that. That's just being completely honest and upfront with you. With everything you're hearing in the news, keep it for what it's worth. Don't not buy because of what you hear in the news, but you also have to be cognizant and understand that you can handle this and find a way. And the best thing, if you do it the right way, we just talked about rents, average rents at $2,700 a month. I'm hearing a 1-bedroom going for like $1,600, and they don't even have their own kitchenette. And this is in Camarillo, $1,600. Then I'm hearing 2 bedrooms in River Park, $2,800 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment. That's where it's at. So if you have really good rent right now, appreciate that. But I'm going to tell you one quick story, and this is a buyer who's actually purchasing the home he's renting. Good friend of mine, it's an attorney, and we actually were fraternity brothers. I won't get into those stories.
I have video of that too.
Some of my fraternity brothers as well. That's always nice to Frank. I've been completely lost my train of thought. So they started renting 3 years ago. They've been probably ready to go about 5-6 years. He's been saving money. He's an attorney. He's been able to save a good amount of money. But he didn't buy 3 years. Okay. Now he's ready to buy now. And he's just like, man, this market's crazy in terms of where the prices are at, what the interest rates are at, where my payments at. So finally we have this conversation and they're still getting cold feet, right? And I'm sharing with him, I said, look, you do realize this is what your rent, and his rent was like $26.50, so he had really good rent for a 3-bedroom in Ventura, detached home. And great, and then they're worried like, now the seller may want to sell it, right? If they don't sell it to us. Sure enough, everything comes out, and I said, let's do the quick math. You've been renting for 3 years, okay, at almost $26.50 a month, right? About $30,000 a year, this house is paid off. So they put $30,000 a year in that landlord's pocket. What else do you think happened in the last 3 years? You think prices went up a little bit?
Yeah.
They lost over $150,000 in equity over the 3 years they were renting at a great rate. That's got to sink in. They missed out on that. The average homeowner, so well, on a national average, you can look it up, it's about $240,000. It's the average homeowner's wealth. Guess what the average tenant's wealth is? Ballpark. You had to throw a number out there. It's less than 10. It's about $7,500. It takes so much, especially in California, to be able to save up $150,000, $200,000. I got a lot of great first-time home buyer stories. But one of them that's really good, we're at a dinner conversation, talking about it, thinking about it. They didn't think they can do it. Probably like many people that are in this room right now. Didn't think they could do it. Didn't think they could buy in this market. My wife thought she'd never be a homeowner in Southern California. She just figured it was impossible. They went through one of the programs that's talking about couch and bed. They only needed, and he's gonna have to revise on whether, I hope I'm not putting my foot in my mouth, but at that time, they only needed $5,000 out of pocket. 5,000, that was it. Everything else was down payment system.
Yeah, that has not changed if they do it the right way. Still the same.
So couch and bed, $5,000. He made about 90 a year. And he was able to buy his first property in North Oxford, $333,000 purchase price, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, at about 1,250 square feet, had a 2-car garage, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. His total payment was about $2,600 a month. He gets into the first place. We negotiated 2,000 in credits, so he really came out of pocket $3,000. Okay, lived there for 2 years. They bought it. I said 333. Yeah, it was 333. We sold it at 412,000. 2 years later, they made 50. That 3 turned into 50,000 in 2 years. They took that 50, bought a home in Cameron, a detached home. Got into that home 2 years later. Guess what they walked away with 2 years after that? They got in at 595. This was about a year and a half ago. They sold it at 770. They made 100. They had 175 now to put down after commissions, costs, everything. That 3 went to 50. Now it's 175. They put down in the Heights at a 2,200 square foot home in a cul-de-sac. Paid off their BMW, so now they don't have a $600 month payment, so they could handle a little bit more mortgage payment. So their mortgage went from about 32 to about 41, right? But now they moved up into another bracket. All started with $3,000 buying that first home that wasn't the perfect home, that wasn't everything they ever hoped for, that was stretching them on their payment, but they got the tax write-off and they got the appreciation. Okay? There's a right way to do it, and all of you can, and it takes with that first step. So I wanted to make sure I share that story because it's very important. I have many of those stories, we all do, but it's important to understand it's the first step. Take the first step. There is no cost when you go in, and again, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but from our experience, no cost to run your loan application. Correct?
Absolutely not, zero.
You'll pay your credit as a closing cost. You pay for that report on your closing if you actually purchase the home. But up front, you have nothing to lose by seeing where you're at. Okay, so let's start with that. So let's jump into this. Any questions, any challenges, any other things that you want to make sure that I cover? I don't see. I'll just use this paper. How are we doing on time? Because I know I got a lot to jump into. This is typically a 4-hour class. I hope you're all ready for. You got another 3.5 hours? It's 11. Okay, so I'm going to do my best to try to cover as much of this as I can in about 30 minutes. Okay, is that okay? Is that what we're going for? Is that okay? You guys okay with that? We'll try to do 30 minutes. So what we're going to go into is we're going to talk about what happens when you write an offer and get it accepted and how you're protected by the contract. This is really important. Our whole goal here by our group here is to empower all of you, regardless of who you decide to work with. The more information you know, the more empowered you are, then you're ready to know how to win. And that's really what it comes down to, because in this market, it's competitive. As much as it can be tough, it is critical that you work with somebody that you can trust, that's looking out for your best interest, right? Not just trying to make a check, not just trying to make a commission. They want your long-term business. They want you to refer everybody, just like this beautiful young man right here that comes in and saying these kind of things about my dad. It's all word of mouth. And when you do right by people, people know. Yes, sir.
That wouldn't be for your dad. That wouldn't be much appreciated. And as I said, flying here today, because market changes.
Right.
From there was 3 or 4 years ago.
Right.
Today,
Completely different market.
completely different. That's why I want to learn. I love that.
That's perfect.
And I brought my friend.
Well, thank you for bringing your friend. I appreciate it. I hope you're getting some good info and I'm hoping you're all taking some nuggets from this because this is key and we're gonna get into the process right now. Okay, so what I like to start off with is I'm gonna draw a timeline. If you're taking notes, feel free to do something with this, okay? Because these are your important dates after you get your offer accepted. And I'm gonna try my best to keep this as simple as possible because you're gonna hear words like contingencies. You're gonna hear E&D, earnest money deposit. You're gonna hear these things that sound like a foreign language probably to some of us, an appraisal. We wanna know what that is. We wanna know how we're protected by the process. How much money do we need to save, right? If we're not able to take advantage of an awesome down payment assistance program, how much money do I actually need, right? So these are all good questions and good things to know based on what price points you're looking at, okay? So I'm gonna use, if it's okay with you all, I'll try to use 600,000 as our example. Is that a decent price point, or do we want to go higher? Do we want to go lower? 600, okay? Start with 600, okay? So let's start with this. We got, anybody want to be a buyer and a seller? Who'd like to be our buyer, seller? Be anybody? All right, Nikolai, you'll be our buyer. You'll be the seller, okay? So I already wrote a clue on what we're gonna list this price. So what would you like to list your home for? Okay, so you want to make as much, you're already telling them too much. As your agent, I'm gonna tell you that. Keep that to yourself right now, okay? So, and that's how many sellers think, right? I want to make as much money as possible. So, we're gonna say 600,000 is our price point. So 600 is the asking price. Tell us about your property at 600,000.
Well, I think I had a detached unit.
Okay,
It's not now.
detached home?
Yeah, detached home.
Yeah, we're just giving them
3 bedrooms,
3 bedroom.
2 bathrooms, 2 garage,
Okay.
place for the RV, backyard, and you can, lemon or orange fruits.
Oh, wow.
Nice neighborhood.
Have you started working on your real estate license?
Right.
That's Brittany.
That's
you need to
next.
sign them up next. So it sounds like an amazing property. I think 600 may be too low for this one, right? What's the square footage on it?
Well, I'm not in different house.
Right. No, just on this. 1,500 square feet. Okay. So would you all think, you saw a home like this, we'll just say it's in Cameron. With, let's just say 1,500 square feet detached home. It's 600K. Would you think that's underpriced or overpriced? Under. What do you think the average price would be right now for detached property in Cameron? Just guess. Over 1 million, I heard. Yeah, that's not far off. You can find some sometimes in the 7s. Sometimes in the 7s. They're starting to creep up now. Okay, and if they do hit under 8, especially you see it in a range, we listed one in North Oxnard. Actually, met some people here that are here. It's listed at 740. In 4 days at 40 showings. This is the market that you're in today, 40 showings. We had 20 offers in 5 days. Okay. It was priced well at 740. The comps on that neighborhood sold at 760. So it was only 20 under ask. But we strategically put it under to know that it would create a little bit more push, right? There's also something called a conforming rate or limit. And that's right around 720. You can tell us the exact number, it's like 724 ballpark. What that means is it changes from a regular loan to a jumbo loan once you go higher than that amount, which could require more reserves, more money out of pocket to have in the bank. Okay. So things to kind of keep in mind, you want to try to keep it in the conforming amount. So I knew strategically at 740 we would get it. Paid for, you see beautiful photos. It looks perfect. Everything looks great. And it's in that right neighborhood. And it was in a really good neighborhood in North Oxnard. That's what's happening in the market today. Now, on a similar standpoint, the same type of home could be just a little bit higher, right? And it could be less in terms of showings, right? And that there wasn't much of a difference. Is it okay if we share a little bit of that?
Yeah.
Okay, so at 800K, right?
Mhm.
So similar type of property than the one that was listed over here. It's about 20, mine was 23, this one's about 2,100 square feet. went on at 800, and how many showings did you have in the first few days of that particular listing?
We had about 2 or 3.
2 or 3. Then the price got dropped to 750, right?
Yeah.
And then what happened?
We got 45 phone calls in the first day, 35 the next. And we got multiple offers the same day that the price was corrected.
So this is the reason, thank you for sharing that. And because she's an expert at what she does, she knew how to advise her client quickly and see what was happening trend wise and knowing, okay, you need to drop the price to get it to what we call on the listing side, the sweet spot. Once you get it to the sweet spot, you're going to generate all the showings, the activity and everything else. Well, fortunately, not every agent out there understands the market the way that we market. So that home typically will sit. They'll typically have a stubborn seller that'll say, I'm not dropping the price to $50,000. What are you, crazy? I hear this last home just got all these offers and went way over asking price. So guess which home you should be looking for? The one listed at 800,000. That's a little over 2,000 square feet. Okay, because you have less competition. This is all about competition. And the more that you understand and can think like a seller, you're going to increase your chances of getting your offers accepted. Does that make sense? These are very important concepts to grasp to be able to pull it off. And the good news is you don't all have to know this inside and out, but you have to be able to evaluate your agent on whether they're up to the task of being able to negotiate on your behalf, because that's their job, is to look out for your financial best interest, to protect you. And in some markets, which sounds crazy, it's an agent is actually telling you the right thing by saying right over asking price, because they can tell, we know based on how it's positioned in the marketplace, what it's going to take to be competitive. And it's based on those questions. Okay. So getting back to this timeline here, and any questions that come up, let me know. If I can answer it, then I will, or I'll table it so we can move through this. Okay. So you listed 600K, right? Great price. What do you offer? 580. Okay, so you're right, it's 550, and this happens. It happens, okay? So he offers 550,000. What you laugh, but what's your response to that?
My response is reminds me when I came from Northeast, Connecticut, New Jersey, and I had 2 homes over there, $200,000 each.
Okay,
I come in California,
right.
I see these prices,
And
and I'm like, kind of acceptable. But I was 500.
right, 100,000 less.
This is less. So that reminds me. I love it.
So wrote even lower, so he actually can relate to you.
He just ruined the whole presentation.
That's great. Is I picked the right 2 people for a buyer and seller right now. So so he writes at 550. So now he's got 3 things he can do as an agent. He can either reject it, he can counter it, or he can accept it. Which one do you do? Okay. And how he's just rejecting, he's not even gonna counter it. Okay. So you're done. You're out. All right. Anybody else wants to be a buyer? No, just so we have and this just hit the market. I didn't get into that part. It just hit one day on the market. You see 600K, but you know your cap is 550. So you're like, hey, that's as high as I can go. So I just put my best foot forward. And that's what you want to do. On a gotta have home, you put your best foot forward. That's another negotiation tip. These are things if you're writing it down. Don't expect a counter in this market. You put your best foot forward, you come in as strong as you can come in. There's certain markets, just a few months ago, you could ask for credits. You still can. My tenant that bought their home, we were able to work it out where they didn't have to compete with the rest of the market. So if you have a landlord and you're working with an agent, before calling the property manager, that's what my client did, and I wish he would have called me directly, right? He called the property manager listed and represented them. And so I represented the tenant. So we worked out a $12,000 credit. That $12,000 credit bought the interest rate down. It's called a 2-1 buy down. So instead of paying almost $3,900 a month, now they're down to $3,300 a month for the first year, second year at $3,600 a month, and it's fixed at $3,900 after that. As Frank had just talked about, right? You have within the next 2 years, if you can refinance, you're good. They're okay, and they're just softening what that payment shock is because they're paying $2,600 a month. So it's a big jump. So there's creative things out there. And again, we talked about bucket A, bucket B. You go for the bucket B, a home that's been on the market for at least 21 days. Okay, I would say that's about the minimum, at least 21 days on the market. Now, there's a reason why that home's been sitting on the market. So there's no inventory out there right now. So then the common thing I heard last month too, in our last month's class, Well, something's wrong with the home. It's been on the market for 90 days. I don't want to buy that home. That's the home you want to pay a lot of attention to because you got less competition. Every home will sell if it's at the right price. This is what we teach our sellers and we teach our agents. But not everybody prices a home well. Sometimes they have a weaker agent. No offense to anybody who's overpricing properties, but they just don't know the market, or maybe they're not courageous enough to tell their seller that you need to drop the price. Yes, sir.
You are correct there, because I find 2 agents before I hire the product.
Well, thank you. And it's who you pick does matter. And if you don't feel they're looking out for your best interest, then you should fire them and you should find somebody else. There's something called a buyer broker agreement. I just want to make sure you're all aware of it. Not saying not to sign one of these, okay? Some agents will require you to. If you know my dad and the way he's taught it, he was in one of his brokerages, I won't say which company, they made it. Never agreed with it. He said, if you want to work with me, it's based on trust. Okay, and if you trust me, if you're committed to working with me, I'm committed to helping you. That's the same way that I do business as well. I've actually had a few clients that said, I want to be under contract with you. I signed something, so I did. We have. But it's only because they wanted to make sure that they knew they had a contract with me. So when they spoke to people, because you're going to do this, you're going to see open houses on your own. You're going to get listings that are on Redfin and Zillow and these other things that some of you may accidentally hit to contact that agent, right? Or it looks like, oh, it's a showing appointment, so they can click on that. Just so you all know, those are leads that are being sold to agents. Okay, you're not really contacting the listing agent in those situations more times than not. So I want to prep you so that you know, but interview and look for an agent that's going to look out for your best interests. That's key. More, even as important, is the loan officer. Your loan officer and your agent, both of them have to be expert communicators. That's the strongest skill set that they can have. If they speak very well, they're on it, they're going to make or break your situation. They're going to make it an amazing situation or not. You got to look at results. Who has the most closings, the most transactions, the volume? Frank is nationally ranked. He's top, and he won't talk about it. But how many? What did you rank nationally?
Well, I mean,
Putting you on the
Tough
spot,
question,
but what
yeah.
was it? Yeah.
well, Scotsman guys, top 1% of the country.
Top 1%.
Whatever that is, I don't know. I just know it's top 1%.
Top 1%.
Until I get home and then I gotta wash the
We'll-
dishes
we'll
and
pull
the
up the
clothes
rank.
and all that.
79
Yeah.
out of the entire.
Can I just add to what
Yes,
you just said? It is extremely important. I tell everybody, and no one wants to talk about this, but it is a reality. There is a circle of power partners or a circle of cash within every community. And that circle is real. So when you're choosing who to do business with, starting with your real estate professional, and when I was just talking about it last while ago, the young lady back there, that I said to her, hey, congratulations on a phenomenal year. And she was humble and she said, yeah, thank you. I said, you know what? Don't disqualify yourself. Just say thank you. I'm really good at what I do and I've been working very hard. So why am I saying this is because when you are getting ready to make the biggest investment of your life, or the second biggest investment of your life, the real estate agent that you're working with, or the group that you've chosen, your team to make this happen, they need to be, according to you and your research and their reviews and just everything about them, they need to be in that circle of cash. And if you feel that they're not, be careful to have to hire someone that just got their license. In this case, most of us hire someone that we know that just got their license and you want to help them out. And then you find yourself making a gazillion offers and nothing's happening. That's probably because they're not in the circle. And again, highest and best doesn't always win, meaning the highest offer. But the communication, the relationship, and more importantly, the trust that these agents have with each other to let you in to get that home that you want. Okay, because they do so much business, but not just business, good, sound business.
Thank you.
I would definitely do that.
Reputation definitely goes a long way, okay, especially in these communities, depending on where you're looking at. And just so you all know, in terms of, because this is typically a question that comes up, how do agents get paid, right? Especially with people on the buying side. That's another thing that if you have a buyer representation agreement, you got to read it and see what they're writing in there. They write higher, not supposed to talk rates. I do everything I'm not supposed to do, right? They write higher than 2.5%. It should be just kind of in a little antenna that goes up, okay? Because it's pretty common that you see rate commissions are negotiable. This is more on the listing side, but they're negotiable. And so it's pretty common, I don't want to say it's industry standard, you can't make it a standard to see 2.5%. So if you see 3%, you see higher than that. It's not saying that that agent's not good, maybe that agent's phenomenal, that's what they charge and that's what they represent, okay? But it's some things that kind of just be a little bit leery of, that's all I would say. Yes,
So I
sir.
can share my experience,
Yes.
selling my houses in New Jersey and Connecticut,
Right,
when I see with agents for 2.5%, they didn't sell.
right.
But I raised the 3% for better agents, and they sold,
Different on the listing side, I'm talking on the buying side, but he's exactly right. So he listed, it's a good story if you didn't hear, at 2.5%, they didn't sell. But then he hired an agent who listed at 3% and it sold. Why do you think that was the case? You get what you paid for. And so it's double-edged sword there. Be careful with it, but also use your gut instincts, okay? You shouldn't be paying any money out of pocket is what I'm saying out of front. The way the agent gets paid, we get paid from the sellers, okay? The seller who's selling the home pays their listing agent, pays the buyer's agent. Okay, and it's completely negotiable what that is, but it's actually out there now that you can see the commission on that. Okay, so the only way that your agent will get paid is if you successfully close the transaction. Once you close it, then the seller will be paying. Okay, so just want you to all know, so you shouldn't be paying anything out of pocket. It only happens if you're being represented by an agent that helps you guide you through the process. And you get a successful close, you're not paying it. The seller is the one who's paying the commissions out to both sides. Make sense? Okay. The one thing that a lot of companies do have is called a processing fee. We do have one for $395 here at C21. That's a closing cost though. Again, once you close the transaction, you would pay that $395 processing fee. And we have a lot of things. They digitally store everything for 5 years, but we have transaction coordinators and other people to make sure we're dotting I's and crossing T's. So I went to law school 2010 to 13. Graduated, thankfully, barely, but it still counts. You still call me doctor, it's like to call me doctor. Still told that to my wife, she's laughing. And I was like, just trust me, doctor. But that's about as far as I went with it. Didn't pass bar. I played baseball, so 3 strikes are out. 3rd time, I'm like, I'm sticking to real estate. That's what I did. And only reason why I share that is you want to make sure that you have some type of, just be careful who you're working with, basically, okay? I'm not saying you need somebody who went to law school, but the organization, if we have it, we have a compliance group that will vet everything. So these are just little details and things that you'll see that you don't get in every situation, okay? So good question to ask. So let me get to this timeline here. So again, what we're gonna cover, out-of-pocket expenses, what it is that you need to come up with for money, okay? So I'm gonna put money here, all right? So first thing, your earnest money deposit, that's typically 3% of the purchase price. So we're gonna say you two came to an agreement, you countered, you said yes to 600,000, we're good to go, we open escrow.
So the reason I
All right.
said rejected it because we
Right.
agree that it's underpriced.
Absolutely, so you should go way over,
Yes.
absolutely.
That's
So
why.
on this one, right, on this one though, we're gonna say you guys said yes to 600K. So day 0 is the day of acceptance. So you got to agreement today on Saturday. It's a little different doing it on Saturday, but you have 3 business days for an earnest money deposit. So that'd be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We have 3 days to get that EMD in. On average, it's 3%. You can negotiate for less. We've seen one for as little as $5,000 recently, okay? You can negotiate less. In other markets, you can do it for less than that. In this market, you probably need at least 10K. Just again, being upfront, you're looking at a 600,000 price. I probably wouldn't go lower than 10. Now that $10,000 will go towards either your total cash to close, and that's the number you want to know. Your monthly payment, total cash to close. Everybody says money down, but there's closing costs on top of your total cash to close or your down payment. So ask for what is my total cash to close? What is my monthly payment? What price does that put me at? And then let's just say it's 600,000. Well, that's for a detached home that doesn't have HOAs. If you're looking at a condo or a townhouse, that's $350 a month. And this is, I work with quick math. You want to know the exact details from a loan officer and speak to them about the numbers to get that down. But let's say the HOA is $300 a month. For me, just quick math, that's like $570 with 3. It's not exact, but instead of 600, you'd be looking at a condo for $570 with a $300 monthly payment. Is that close?
Correct.
It's close. It's not exact. It's probably a little bit less than that, but that's just my quick math.
Maybe I'll have a piece of yellow.
It could be Melrose. Melrose is a whole nother thing. So if you're looking at River Park, you see it come in at 500, you're like, yes, that's what I qualify for, 500,000. Hate to break it to you. That's like buying a $600,000 home when you add Melrose, HOA, property taxes, everything else. It's about $100,000 difference. So you see something in River Park that has Melrose, be ready. It's about, if you see 500K, it's really like 600,000 if you bought a detached home out in town. Okay, so these little tips and tricks are going to help you kind of weed through so that you're not wasting your time and getting your hopes up either. Other thing you wanted, just another quick tip, if you're qualified at VA or FHA as your loan, make sure that the complex, if you're looking at a townhouse or a condo, is VA or FHA approved. Not every complex is. This was really common, especially I sold a good amount of homes in Oxnard, and at a certain period of time, let's just say there were 25 different condos or complexes, there were only a handful that were qualified. Remember back in like 2013, 2014? So we had to start getting them qualified, okay? So the other acronym that you hear is called a PUD, a PUD. A PUD could look like a condo or townhouse or even a detached home. It's open to everybody, right?
Plan unit development. Yeah.
Plan unit development. So if you hear PUD, that's something. So these are, again, just little nuggets of things to kind of store as you're looking through the process. So I want to raise antennas more than anything so that you're more prepared and you know what questions to ask. So offer gets accepted 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's got to be 3 business days for earnest money. That's the only one that it's just business days. Okay. So you have till Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to get that $10,000 into what we call escrow. Okay. Escrow has a couple names for it. Escrow, one time they'll say, oh, we opened escrow. Or it's a 30-day escrow, which is very common. It takes 30 days from start to finish to close this transaction. Okay. Escrow is also a neutral third party. Yes, sir. Yep. Right. So it's just Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, only for the earnest money. Everything else, you count every calendar day, unless it lands on a weekend. So if you're 17 days, which is this is a very important thing to know with your real estate contractor knowing. 17 days, you got to be ready to fully commit or not, typically. Okay. So on that would be 17 calendar days from when it was accepted. So our key day today is we opened escrow on day 0, which is today. Sunday would be day 1, Tuesdays, or Mondays, day 2, right? And then so on to day 17. If that landed though on a Saturday or a Sunday, or if Monday's a holiday, then it goes to the next day. Okay. So that's a little more technical, but it's important to know. Okay. All right. So 3 days to get your EMD. Remember, buyer has a duty to investigate. Keep it simple. To investigate. Seller has a duty to disclose. Okay. So seller has 7 days to get you disclosures. What are they going to disclose? They're going to send you some fancy forms, TDS, SPQ, all these other disclosures. They have a duty to disclose material facts. A material fact is anything significant enough that can affect the price or the value of the home. So what I share with sellers is, what do you know about the home that you wish you would have known about the home when you purchased the property? Whatever those things are, we want to disclose. If you're kind of unsure, disclose it. Okay. So that's what we do as agents to try to educate. This is also why it's more important to go this route versus trying to deal with the for sale by owner. People are trying to save commissions, agents get overpaid, they do this and that. Well, you're missing all this. And that's what you need is that insurance policy. We talked about the homeowner, there's other layers of protection in there too. So seller has 7 days to get you all the disclosures. How are we doing on time, Emilia?
We are 11:22.
11:22, 8 minutes.
Yeah.
We'll see. You gotta talk really fast now, okay? The micro machine guy right here. Okay, so 7 days, sellers have to get you disclosures, okay? You then have up to 17 to fully investigate. You want to do your home inspection if you can, as early as you can. As soon as that offer gets accepted, we're scheduling the home inspection. Home inspection is a general inspection. So out of your out-of-pocket expenses, we're going to say it's about $500 to $600 based on the size of the home for the home inspection. That's the first one, okay? Already mentioned the earnest money deposit. The good news with EMD, sold a lot of homes. Knock on wood, to this day, you've never lost a dollar representing any of our clients on their earnest money deposit when they cancel. Okay, yes, sir.
You can put contingencies on that too, right? To get back,
So he, Very important.
Great question.
You led right into it. So a contingency, this is the legal definition of it, is a good faith excuse out of the contract. Okay? California is a consumer protective state. What that means is you as a buyer are taking the risk on buying a home. So this contract is more geared to protect you as a buyer than it is for the seller. The seller, once they cash out, they move out, they still have duties to uphold, but they're done. They cash out. Okay, you as a buyer now have that home for 30 years typically. So because of that, based on the power imbalance, the contract is completely built to protect you as a buyer. And they put these contingencies in place. That's what these numbers are here. 3 days, earnest money deposit contingency. You don't get that in, the seller's only weapon is called a notice of buyer to perform. So if we don't get it in 3 days, now the seller can send what's called a notice of buyer to perform. We get it in writing that says, hey, you have 2 more days now to get your earnest money deposit in. If you don't, now the seller can cancel. So backing that up just a little bit, when a seller, if you say yes to 600K, you're like, you know what? I like this guy. He reminds me of myself. I'm going to take his offer at 6. I know it's worth 7, but I'm going to take his at 6. And somebody sees your sign and they're like, here's a bag of 700,000 cash. Let's go. Right? Can he take that 700 cash at that point? That's what happened. So, and they dropped off the duffel bag, 700,000, right? That was my cousin Benny. Did that. So, I see, I picked up a few corny jokes. That's not through a lot of my dad's homebuyer classes. That's where these come from. I'm gonna give him all the credit where it's Brittany knows. She's like, just starting to sound like. So hopefully in a good way. So 500, 600 for that. So contingencies, good faith excuses out of the contract. You have many ways out of the contract. The seller, on the other hand, is locked once they accept your offer. They get that 700, the best they can do is take it as a backup offer. So that's the strategy. What you want to lean on your agents for is how do we secure the property and get that seller committed to us? And there's ways we can put pressure on them to do that. And if we do that right, secure the home. Now we have typically up to 17 days, almost 3 weeks after your offer is accepted, to know whether we want to go forward with this or not. We're going to do our home inspection. We're going to do what's called an appraisal. Again, another, so say $500 to $700 for an appraisal. Okay. So you're looking on the high side, 6, 7, 1,300 out of pocket on the, and I don't even want to say on the high because there can be other things. That general home inspection, they're going to check the plumbing, electric, everything. They're going to go through it all. Well, if they see red flags, they're going to say, you need to do a sewer lateral inspection. Another $150. You need to do a chimney inspection. Another $150. You need to do an HVAC inspection. Another $100, right? There's these costs. Roof inspection, $250. You can see it can start adding up. These costs here, you're not going to get back. This is the cost of doing business. Once you pay them for their services, we don't get that back if we back out. But what we do get back is this earnest money deposit. As long as we protected you and stayed within our time frames, still had our ways out of the contract. Okay, does that all make sense?
Yes.
Okay, that's very important to understand. The other one that is an important term I need to make sure we hit is called an appraisal. Some situations, this will be waived. Some competitive markets, they're gonna ask you to waive it. That's one of the scariest things, and you're gonna want to talk to somebody like Frank or Emilia or one of these great agents that's in this office to discuss that and understand how you're protected if you do waive that appraisal. Okay, because sometimes that's what you have to do to get your offer accepted. But we know based on comps and where things are at, when that's an okay and a safe situation to do. And actually, my client, who's the attorney who's buying his, waived the appraisal. And he's asking, so is that bad? Is that more in his favor? Is that more in our favor? It is more in the seller's favor, and I told him that. I said, but the thing is, you know, you bought that home. So I told you the story of the 740. When that actually went out at 791, we had offers over 8. So this buyer got his at 750 with a $12,000 credit. Similar size home and in Ventura in a good neighborhood, right? So you did pretty good. It's not competing with everybody else. So there are some rare situations there. That appraisal now, let's say in this situation, appraisal comes in at 570. But seller and buyer agree to it's worth 600K. Then what are your options there, Nikolai? So the appraisal came in at 570. And you two agreed at 600K. What can you do at this point?
Not 100% sure.
Well, I appreciate the honesty, so
$30,000.
you can put 30 out of pocket. So a seller wants you to pay an extra 30K out of pocket, that's one option, right? Which is likely to happen in this market, and let's just be clear and transparent. This cost could be different next month or 3 months from now. So that's why it's important to know what's going on, because it shifts, it's permanent. But right now, today, you're probably paying an extra 30 out of pocket, okay? 2 months ago, I would be asking the seller, can you drop the price to 570? It's only worth 570. You can say, yeah, please don't run, we'll drop it down to 570. Okay, and then say, we're good to go, that's what it appraised at. Or you can meet in the middle somewhere, or at some point. Those are the 3 options with an appraisal. And if you can't come to an agreement, guess what you can do? Cancel. You can walk away. So that's why secure the property first. You're gonna go through your due diligence here. There's a few other things that happen. There's something called the CD closing disclosure. The big thing that I want to make sure you all know about with the 17 days and how important a good agent and a good loan officer is the question that I would ask Frank at this point. We're at roughly 17 days. You already know what call's coming. It's the one that lenders and loan officers love most, right? Where are we at in the process?
Right.
And at least when you're working with professionals like Frank, we know, because he knows his programs and products so well, that we're at a safe spot to remove all of our ways out of the contract and now potentially put that earnest money at risk. I say potentially, it's not an automatic. There still has to be a conversation, but I would call the loan officer and I would ask you, what's the question I'm gonna ask you?
Are we clear to close?
Are we
Can we
clear to
remove
close?
all
Write that down.
contingencies? And I would invite everyone to just have the mindset that the pre-qual, right? That getting pre-qualified, that's probably a thing of the past for now. I think getting approved is really what it is, meaning showing up with everything that we need to hand you $600,000, right? People get a little crazy. They say, what do you need a pay stub for? What do you need this for? Well, we're giving you 700,000, or you're borrowing, or you're buying a piece of America.
Right.
We need some information. And I mean that in a good way, right? And so when you find the house that feels like home, you can act with certainty.
Yep.
And we can clear all of these conditions very quickly.
Right.
And put your offer at the very top, right? By acting with certainty and swiftly.
So that's perfect. So pre-qual, pre-approval, pre-qual, if you walk into many of the big banks and you speak to them, there's somebody, they know they're getting people in, they may not be the most qualified. They're like, yeah, you're pre-qualified up to 600K. Then you speak to a professional, he's like, no, 550 is really where you want to be at. Now that I've seen everything because of this, but you can increase it up to that. That's a pre-approval. They're not going to take a pre-qual seriously. You can even go further than that and do what's called a DU approval, direct underwriter approval, which is phenomenal. That means it's actually submitted to the underwriter. And for a lot of times, we can compete with cash on a
Correct.
DU approval. Okay, it's that solid. So these are little steps and points. So on that 17th day, I'm going to ask that call. He's going to say, yes, we're good to go. Once he tells me that, then I feel confident in telling you, okay, we can remove all contingencies. Congratulations, it's going to be your home. Okay, then we just have the final stretch. We sign loan docs. You're gonna have some cramps in your wrist after you're signing through all these documents, signing your life away. I'm trying to lighten it up. A little bit.
Yeah.
Your first child.
Some people want to give away their first child for the house. Not a bad deal.
I wish I could have Frank in my clothing. Thanks to your dad, he did his job.
Yeah, he showed up. My dad usually shows up on that.
Yeah.
He jumped on it, he said, we are ready, it's a time that we don't commit.
Right.
For the escrow.
Right.
To say, I mean, for the sponsor, to say, yes, you are good to go.
Right.
You know, we failed, but he did so beautiful with that.
Okay.
After that 10 minutes, I get the money from Bank of America.
There you go. Good job. That's congrats. So at the end there, you're gonna do what's called a final walkthrough. The one part I didn't hit on is negotiation for repairs. After you do that home inspection, you get all these estimates, you can ask for repairs. By law, all they have to fix is water heater double strap, carbon monoxide detectors, smoke detectors. That's it. Ventura requires a sewer lateral inspection, which is the line, your plumbing that goes out to the sewer line. And that can be a pretty expensive situation, okay? If roots get into the clay piping, or there's something called orange bird. You hear orange bird, be wary, okay? And that's pretty common. They built a lot of homes with this, what's called orange bird. It's basically like, what did he compare it to? Paper. It's like paper, like no joke. And that's what's going on. So this stuff's dissolving. It's gotta be replaced in a lot of spots. And it can add up quick. So in Ventura, you're gonna have a sewer lateral inspection. Seller pays for it. It has to be cleared within the last 10 years. Okay. Even if you're not mining in Ventura, talk to your agent, but more times than not, you want to do a sewer lateral inspection. It's a very important inspection. It's a camera inspection they send through that. It's usually about $150 to $200, depending on who you're using for that. Okay. So big important things to do. We do the final walkthrough. On the final walkthrough, we're going to check, make sure there's no new holes in the walls. If they agree to fix X, Y, and Z, we're going to make sure those repairs are done to our liking. And if it is, we're going to say no discrepancies. Then funding happens on day 29. Okay, and then day 30, we're going to close. Sometimes we can fund and close on the same day. It's that easy. It's a piece of cake, friends. Trying to do it in like 15 minutes here. There's a lot more to it. I'm telling you, this is seriously a 4 hour, 2 hours on lending, 2 hours on real estate to do it justice. And there's so much to get into, but we wanted to give you a good overview of it. Hopefully to start getting you to think about some different things, but knowing that you have these protections in place to be able to do it. Any questions here? Yes, sir.
What are some common times that the appraisal will go through if it's not like at that 25-day mark that it may come in? Or if it's coming before the offer was.
So the timing of the appraisal?
Yeah.
Yeah, so typically after your offer is accepted, it's a great question. After your offer is accepted, usually when the lender is asking you for your credit card information, that's how I know you got all your documents in and they're gonna order the appraisal. So typically will happen very early on in the escrow within the first few days, but you have to be at a certain point before you can order the appraisal, right?
Correct. And I'm going to add something. If you're dealing with a bank, let's say a Bank of America, Chase, or something like that, they're going to want your credit card because they have a loan rep helping you, not necessarily a mortgage professional. But I think I can speak on behalf of all of my friendly competitors, not just myself, but every direct lender out there or broker. Most of them will not collect anything up front for the appraisal. I think a lot of us know that it's going to be okay. And if we have any true concerns, then we will caution you right up front. At that point, the real estate agents actually know that we're pushing right for value, and that, you know, it may or may not. But to me, appraisals are a cost of doing business. I think that's the way I look at it.
That's great to hear, because a lot will charge at, you know, very early on. So different loan officers offer that as the service for them. So similar to the credit report. But yeah, it's done early in the process. So we have plenty of time within our 17 days to make sure.
It's like if this is like less accepted at 5 days.
So if it's higher,
Yeah, it's higher.
so if it's higher, the good news is you own that as the buyer.
Yes.
And so you don't have to share that with the seller. Okay, so if you get higher than value, you're not gonna say, look what we got.
Yeah.
Especially.
You don't want to.
Like, you made an extra 20K, we undersold it to you, Nikolai, just because I liked you. It's really worth $700,000, right? Yeah. And now you're my least favorite person.
Yeah. And that's a great question, guys. Sorry to interrupt you again. The appraisal belongs to the buyer. It belongs to you.
Yeah.
Okay, no one else, right? And the appraisals will take about 5 days. 5 days, that's really it. They're very, very, very quick.
Very common to, yes, sir.
From my experience, the appraisal was mostly for the banks to make sure that you are buying the right price,
That's right.
because they're paying for the house.
That's exactly
Correct.
right. So he was saying from his experience, it's more for the bank. It is a protection for the bank, but you as a buyer as well. And that is something that they're not associated. They have to be neutral as well. They can't be connected to the lender. Lender can't influence them. The agent can't influence them. There's actually some pretty bold disclosures that you're gonna sign with that. So just so you know what's on.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to call the appraiser. So, you know, I'm not allowed. I can't say, hey, so what's going on? You know, how does it look? I cannot call, imply, value, anything. We're not supposed to call them. In fact, VA appraisers.
Yeah.
Everyone stays away from a VA appraiser. You call them, they can report you. It's you can't instigate value or just influence in any way. So you're fully protected by a state certified appraiser that has a responsibility to the state of California, to the bank, to the borrower, nothing to do with us, the agent or the lender.
Correct.
Or the buy.
Correct. You're protected.
My property, and I was walking the appraisal lady going around with the features, and I asked her, "Can you tell me, is it about foreclosure?" I'm like, where do I stand?
Right.
She's like, I cannot handle it.
Correct. Yeah. And if they tell you, if you happen to be at your own appraisal, for whatever reason, you're there doing the inspection and the appraisal, you're all there together at the same time. If you ask an appraiser, even this goes for the real estate agents as well. If you ask them, hey, so what do you think? And if the appraiser says to you, yep, anywhere between 500 to 2 million. If they say that to you, don't get offended. They're actually answering you the correct way. They're only allowed to give you a range, as ridiculous as the range might be.
Right.
They're doing the right thing to protect their license.
And usually they're still gonna say it came in at value. That would be my response as a buyer's agent. Even if I know it's higher, I'm gonna say it came in at value. They typically aren't gonna stick their neck out there that much. Whatever it's sold at, that's what you'll hear. Even if they do think that there's another 20, 30, 40 in that property. So that's kind of where that.
Good
No, great questions. Any other questions? I really appreciate you guys coming out. I just want to make sure if there's anything that's pressing right now, please feel free to ask. You got some great professionals here that can answer the questions. Anything else that comes out? Was this helpful? Hopefully, that you get some nuggets out of it. And it looked like I put a couple people to sleep, so I just want to make sure we resuscitate the people in the back there. Are we all good? Everybody good? Thank you guys all, please talk to your agents with any other questions.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you. Bye.
They go there. Yeah, let's do it back.
Flora?
Wait, they go there.
I do. I think they over here, Nikolai. Here's the young guy that we used to work with. Okay. Yes. No questions from you?
No, but I just wanted.
We have all the right questions.
Yeah, I'm a new agent right across the street in Pinnacle, so I'm just kind of getting my foundation all set and figured out and just
Hit me up, I'll help you.
appreciate
Let me
that.
tell you something that someone told me when I first started. Someone said to me, I walked in, I said, hey, so what do I do? So what's my communication? And my mentor, Brian Pick at the time said, first of all, slow down, dude.
Yeah,
First thing I'm gonna do is give you 5 pieces of advice
okay,
to save your career.
yeah,
And I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I'm gonna help you not ruin your career. That's
Okay.
what we need to do.
okay,
So if I can do that for you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call you and say, hey, Frank, let's sit down for 30 minutes.
I love it.
I don't like to say much, and I've done a bunch of people. They know. I think I'm over $1 billion in business. I helped over 5,000 families.
Yeah,
And if you ask me, Frank, what's the well, listen on top.
yeah, literally.
Listen, ask them for education, probability of opinion. The more I know about you, the easier it will be.
Yeah.
What's your 5-year plan? What's your 3-year plan? How do you feel about this? What is your motivation?
Yeah. All the important things. It's the important little things.
Agents that are excelling at helping people. It's because you really are.
Yeah.
helping people. You
Yeah.
are a professional listener. You're actively listening.
Yeah,
And you are someone that.
that's why I came here today. Was
Yeah.
brand new.
So it's thinking about, well, you know, there's 50 calls. And what are you saying though?
Yeah,
You knock on 100 doors. I know, but. So,
yeah,
so you knock on my door now.
yeah,
Well, are you looking, do you know of anyone that's looking to buy or sell?
yeah, bye, it's gone.
Hey, guys, I'm here knocking on every door now, whether you're selling or not, I'm assuming you're not. No. I'd be letting people know that there's a new program that, and if you know anyone that is available, are you getting a value?
Yeah.
Or are you just knocking on doors?
Yeah.
So I would invite you to the new call.
It's good seeing you, brother.
So he's with him. Yeah, we hear you. It's okay. It's a smart man.
You making a move?
You
Yeah,
need to,
yeah.
are you?
Well, no, let's have coffee.
When he said
I would
that-
love
when he
to,
said that,
I would
said-
love to lunch.
When he
coffee,
said that,
whatever.
you should